How would you like a 15% discount to my daily email, the stack of stuff, the show notes, discounts to the conference, all of that? All you need to do is text the word show to 33777. You'll get the annual subscription with a 15% discount to my daily email. You'll get the stack of stuff, the links to the show notes, discounts to the conference, and so much more. All you have to do is text the word show, SHOW, to 33777. Text show to 33777.
Welcome to the Eric Erickson Show podcast, Hour 2.
My fellow Americans, it is Eric Erickson here across the United States. The phone number is 877-973-7425. Should you wish to be on the program, I would be very, very happy to have you. Now, you need to know a couple of things here, particularly if you're on WSB in Atlanta, if you're listening there. I will have a conversation with Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger at 2 p.m. Eastern Time today. The rest of you will have me. We'll see what the news breaks by 2 o'clock, and we'll cover that stuff at 2 o'clock, whatever it is. But I may go back to redistricting if there's not a big breaking news stuff, because we got to deal more with the Democratic psychological issue, and I don't know that I'll have time this hour. But for those of you in WSB, I'll have the conversation with Brad Raffensperger at 2. If you're in Georgia, I will prepare my voting guide for you. You can text Eric, E-R-I-C-K, to 33777. Click the first link, subscribe. You don't have to do the paid option. Just subscribe. I'll send that out to everybody when I get it done. I'm going to leave the governor's races out because I think it's unfair to them were I to cast a vote for them when I'm interviewing them. Don't think it's fair. I'll bring up the other races. I'll profile the gubernatorial candidates for you in there so you can make up your own mind. I don't need to tell you how to think. This may be the last time we do it. But you do need to know, vote for all the incumbent judges. Seriously, tell your friends, vote for the incumbent judges. When it comes up at church or social groups, you got to vote for the incumbent judges. Stick around, go to the very end of the ballot, vote for the incumbent judges, because progressives are trying to beat the reasonable conservatives on the Georgia Court of Appeals and the Supreme Court. Now, for those of us nationally, we need to move on because we've got to talk about the Iran situation. The situation continues to metastasize, I guess you could say. The president is looking at additional options on dealing with Iran. And it is a little bit problematic, just so you understand that, well, how do I put it? We don't really have a good plan. The president has rejected Iran's proposal to first open the Strait of Hormuz and lift the blockade while postponing nuclear talks. This is from Axios, which has been pretty well sourced on the president's plans for what he wishes to do with Iran. Again, this is from Barack Ravid. President Trump told Axios he's going to keep Iran under naval blockade until the regime agrees to a deal that addresses the nuclear program. Central Command has prepared a plan for a short and powerful wave of strikes on Iran in hopes of breaking the negotiating deadlock. After the strikes, which would likely include infrastructure targets, the U.S. would press the regime to come back to the negotiating table. The president told Axios he saw the blockade as, quote, somewhat more effective than the bombing, and sources said he has yet to order any kinetic action. He did post an AI-generated meme of himself holding a gun with a warning to Iran and the tagline, "No more Mr. Nice Guy." For now, Mr. Trump sees continuing the blockade as his primary source of leverage, but he would consider military action if Iran still won't cave. He declined to discuss military plans in the phone interview, which lasted 15 minutes. The blockade is somewhat more effective than the bombing. They are choking like a stuffed pig. It's going to be worse for them. They can't have a nuclear weapon, Trump told Axios. He claimed Iran wants to reach a deal in order to lift that blockade. They want to settle. They don't want me to keep the blockade. I don't want to lift the blockade because I don't want them to have a nuclear weapon. The president said Iran's oil storage and pipelines are getting close to exploding because Iran can't export oil due to the blockade. Some analysts doubt that Iran is in immediate danger on that front. A senior Iranian security source quoted by English-language state media Press TV said on Wednesday the U.S. naval blockade will soon be met with practical and unprecedented action. The source added Iran's armed forces have shown restraint in order to give diplomacy a chance. We're in a game of chicken with Iran. Who's going to go first? There are strategic analysts who believe fundamentally that Iran pulled its punches in the first round. I have not actually believed that. Maybe I'm wrong. But I have refused to think it was even plausible that Iran, given what was happening, a campaign that was designed to destabilize the regime, was somehow going to pull its punches. And I am glad to see that the president intends to move forward. And I am glad that the president recognizes he may have to go back in and wipe out Iran. And we should go back in and wipe out Iran. We should go back in and bomb them further. He pulled his punches. I don't think Iran pulled its punches, but a lot of analysts do. Let me, if I can, because I know we have people at the White House who listen to this, and you should understand that a lot of the people inside the White House were opposed to going into Iran to begin with. Just want to say this. Mr. President, if someone just happens to give you this clip, we don't always see eye to eye on this stuff, but I've been a firm believer in what you've been doing in Iran, and I think you're right. And I think a lot of the analysts have been wrong. They've said the whole time that Iran was pulling his punches. Mr. President, if you were looking at your regime collapsing, would you pull your punches? They say Iran did. I don't believe that that's actually the case. The experts told you that you would start a war if you killed Qasem Soleimani, and they were wrong. The experts told you if you moved the embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem that you would start a war. They were wrong. The experts told you that if you started bombing Iran that the whole world would explode. They were wrong. The experts told you that Iran had massive means to retaliate, leading to massive loss of American lives. They were wrong. And now the experts are telling you that Iran was just pulling its punches and biding its time. I'm wondering if they're wrong. The experts now tell us that Iran has completely covered the Persian Gulf in mines. That doesn't really seem to be the case. The experts are biased towards Iran. The experts are biased towards a conventional thinking that has allowed Iran to accumulate nuclear material in the way to build an arsenal. The experts have gotten Iran wrong so many times, and I wonder, Mr. President, if that's because so many of the experts are bought and paid for by Iran. So many of the major Western experts who go on television are tied to think tanks, tied to the Iranian regime, funded by the Iranian regime directly or indirectly. I think that much of the media and much of the expert class has been lied to and misguided by people who have an agenda that is very pro-Iran. And I doubt that they're telling the truth. Even if they are telling the truth, still the right thing to do. Your gut is right. Iran can't get nuclear weapons. Iran fundamentally believes, Mr. President, that it must wipe out Israel and bring about the apocalypse. It's the guiding principle of the Iranian regime is to bring about the apocalypse. Mr. President, you come into contact every day with evangelical Americans who fundamentally, physically, mentally believe in the resurrection of Jesus Christ, that he came out of a grave 3 days after being killed and placed in that grave, and that he's coming back. It's a fundamental belief to a lot of the people who surround you, lay their hands on you, pray for you. And a lot of people think that it's odd. A lot of people think these are kind of off people, that they really believe this sort of magic miracle stuff. The entire Iranian theocracy believes the magic miracle stuff. The entire Iranian academic and philosophical, military and political leadership believes that their job is to wipe out Israel, to bring about the apocalypse so Jesus comes back. That's actually their governing belief. And to a lot of people in the West, they give lip service to Jesus and the resurrection and miracles. They don't really believe it, but the leadership of Iran fundamentally does. You can't negotiate with people who believe their job is to bring about the apocalypse. You can only get rid of them.
I don't think we should have paused for 2 weeks. I think you were far too generous and magnanimous to them and trying to work with them on a diplomatic solution. But you can't work on a diplomatic solution with zealots. I think we should go back in and ruthlessly bomb them. And I suspect, Mr. President, you're better than I am on this, and you want to go in and bomb them and try to get them back to the negotiating table. I think we should bomb them and keep bombing them until that regime collapses. We should sail over Iran and put guns loaded with ammunition on parachutes and drop them into the cities and let the people of Iran take up arms. And I know many people abhor that idea. I think in Iran, with that regime in place, without a fear for its life, is a dangerous regime. I think we need to take out that regime. In the meantime, keep the Strait of Hormuz closed. The United States of America is now producing more oil and exporting more oil than most OPEC nations combined. The United States is now producing and exporting more oil than Venezuela, Iran, Iraq, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, and Russia combined, and the United Arab Emirates combined. It's a massive amount of oil the United States is exporting. Our economy is doing far better than every other economy on planet Earth right now. Mr. President, the German chancellor said he thinks you got played by Iran and they are more powerful now than they have been, and they've made us look weak, so we should make ourselves look strong and take them out and show American leadership in the world is necessary. You continue to target Iran. You continue to cripple the Chinese economy, which is a good thing for us. You continue to target Iran. You continue to deprive Russia of weapons to advance in Ukraine. And the Ukrainians are now taking back so much land, the Russians are finally saying they might want a peace deal, all because you invaded Iran and you took away subsidized oil in Venezuela from China. You're on the verge of collapsing the Cuban economy and the Cuban government as well, all because of what you're doing. It's working to stabilize the world in our favor. And I just think the experts, they keep getting it wrong. The expert class is biased against the United States, biased towards Iran, some of them bought off by Iran. And I think you have a great opportunity to prove them wrong by going back in and ruthlessly waging war. I think we should. I don't think you will. I think you're actually a nicer guy than I am when it comes to Iran. You want them to come to the table. You're okay if they stick around so long as they give up their nukes. I think we should wipe them out. That's just me. They tried to kill me when I was in 5th grade. I'm slow to forgive them. I know too many people whose families lost loved ones to the Iranian regime, too many people who fled that regime, too many people who longed to go home to their country and rebuild it. We could realign Iran in our favor and let the Iranian diaspora head home and rebuild. And then we could take on Cuba and send the Cuban diaspora home to Cuba, and we would have a Cuban government 90 miles from us that's no longer communist, and an Iranian regime, one of the major world oil exporters in the world, pro-America, on the border of Russia, no longer in the axis of Russia and China. It would be a good thing for realigning the world. I don't think we should keep them in place. But, Mr. President, I would just point out to you that the experts have constantly been wrong in the things you've done. Remember, the experts said that you would destroy the world by pulling out of the Paris Climate Accord. They keep getting it wrong. They told us it would be impossible for us to exert regime change in Venezuela, and look what you did. They told us that Cuba could not be collapsed. Look where it is. The experts say a lot of things. And when the experts are biased by funding from anti-American institutions and countries, of course, they keep getting it wrong. I say go wipe out the regime. But that's just me. We have some breaking news. Ding dong, the witch is dead, folks. Breaking news. Casey Means has withdrawn her nomination to be Surgeon General. The White House, rather, has withdrawn her nomination. The president giving up on the Wiccan being Surgeon General. I would just like to say, I won.
Ding dong, the witch is dead. Witch, oh, witch, the wicked witch. Ding dong, the wicked witch is dead.
Welcome. It is Eric Erickson here across the nation. Casey Means' nomination has been withdrawn by the President of the United States. She will no longer be considered for Surgeon General of the United States of America. This is great news and a great day. Casey Means was Donald Trump's nominee to be Surgeon General of the United States. He has withdrawn it as her nomination was dead in the United States Senate. I would like to thank Senator Bill Cassidy, Senator Susan Collins, and Senator Lisa Murkowski for leading the opposition. They were not alone. They were the public opposition. There were plenty of other Republican senators who did not want a witchcraft practitioner to be Surgeon General of the United States. Lest you forget, this is a woman who wrote to her email subscribers that she did full moon ceremonies. She talked openly to the trees. She built a thing and lit candles to her ancestors and left them notes, a little altar that she built. She did psychedelics. She hired people to connect her to the spirit realm. She engaged openly and bragged about witchcraft, pagan witchcraft practices. And I would note to you, and this needs to be said, this is how bad the church is in the United States. Many major Christian organizations, seeing the president advance a witchcraft practitioner for Surgeon General, kept their mouths shut about it. And some Christians in the Trump administration had the audacity to argue, well, we can't have a religion test for a nominee for Surgeon General. You wanted to put into position a woman who believes in magic crystals and tree power and moonbeams as magical powers. You're discrediting to yourselves, and you should all be ashamed of yourselves for what you did. And you Baptist leadership sinners or whatever who kept your mouths shut because you wanted scraps at the table, shame on you. Shame on the Christian leaders of America who kept their mouths shut on Casey Means because you were afraid of alienating yourself from the power centers of the Trump White House. Shame on you for giving up your principles and convictions for power. You're no better than the progressive left. And those of us who spoke up and denounced this, Mike Pence, Mark Short, Advancing American Freedom, myself and others, we maintain the moral high ground, our principles and our integrity, and we, not you, won the fight. Shame on all of you for keeping silent. Now, allow me to talk to you about Swiss America. Swiss America would like to send you their secret war on cash report. The secret war on cash report, very straightforward. The government is trying to deprive you of your ability to spend cash in this country. Legal tender. They don't want you to. Why? Because if you use a credit card or a debit card, they can monitor your purchases. This goes for crypto as well. The government doesn't like you using crypto because of it. You can find out about the secret war on cash report by going to SwissAmerica.com/Eric. SwissAmerica.com/ERICK. When you go, you'll see a form. You put in your information, and they'll send you their report completely for free. It takes less than 15 minutes to read. It can help you with your retirement and finances. Swiss America has been a trusted leader in precious metals in this country for 40 years. They're rated A+ by the Better Business Bureau. If you're interested in precious metal purchases, I have purchased gold from them. You can too. If you want to talk to them about a precious metal IRA, they can do that for you as well. But get their secret war on cash report, SwissAmerica.com/Eric, SwissAmerica.com/ERICK. My fellow Americans, I'm in a happy mood. Oh, there are some people who are furious with me right now. Absolutely furious over this Casey Means stuff. You should see the emails I'm getting from people. You know, so let me just, there's something to be said about eating better. Listen, I'm an overweight guy losing weight. I'm having to track macros and eat more protein and all that stuff, and I get it. But some of this stuff is just absurd. We need beef tallow for everything. I mean, look at Steak and Shake. They're doing an entire MAHA ad campaign. We're going to put beef tallow in everything. Really? No seed oils. I went to some restaurant the other day in Las Vegas, and that was on the front of their menu. We don't use seed oils. Okay. Everybody has a little conspiracy theory as to why health is so bad. And then you know what it is too? White people. Listen, I am so white I can't wear white socks. If I put them on my feet, I can't find them to take them off. That's how white I am. But can we just talk about white people for a minute? Your essential oils and your beef tallow and your homeopathic organic, I sang to the cow before I carved him up and his name was Bob Butchery. It's just, y'all got too much time on your hands. You raw milk people, really? You know, Louis Pasteur saved a lot of lives coming up with pasteurized milk. And you want to go back, you want to abandon science for moonbeams. White people can just be the worst. Let's not get vaccinated. I want my kids to hang out with a group of other kids who all got a disease so my kid can get the disease and boost their immunity. You know, there's this thing called a vaccine where you give your kid an inert version of the disease so they don't get the symptoms, but they get the immunity boost. You could do that, but God forbid we pay attention to modern science because a Hollywood celebrity who appeared in Playboy years ago told you that would give your kid autism if you engaged in the science. White people can just be the worst. We're not going to go get the chemotherapy. We're going to take the frankincense oil and have our amethyst magic crystals around our neck. That'll keep the tumors from growing. I read about it on Reddit. And the logical outcome of this was pouring your hopes and dreams and ambitions into a witchcraft practitioner to be Surgeon General of the United States. And all these Christian moms who get their essential oils and order their steak from Whole Foods because they actually have money, unlike the poor people who can't afford it. They thought it was a great thing. We should have a woman who channeled indigenous voices and walked barefoot through the forest getting ringworm while talking to the trees. Because, you know, there's essential oil for the ringworms too. White people, you can just be obnoxious. And it's not the conservatives, it's the progressives too. You're upset about highly processed foods. You don't have to eat them. But you know one of the reasons we have highly processed foods? Because there are people in this country that you don't hang out with. They're called poor people. And you think you know the poor people, and you really don't. And the poor people, they can't go to Whole Foods and get the homeopathic chicken that you sang to before you plucked the feathers and boiled the chicken and butchered the chicken. They can't afford to go to Whole Foods and rock the chicken to sleep before the butchery happens. They got to go to Food Lion and Piggly Wiggly. You've never even set foot in a Food Lion or a Piggly Wiggly, I bet, most of you white people. You go to Whole Foods or you go to Publix. I go to Publix. Why? Because I got money, so I go to Publix. I don't want to hang out with the poors either. I got blue chat bubbles. I kid because I care. Listen, I, unlike a lot of you, actually do know what it's like to be poor. I don't spend a lot of time talking about it. We, at one point in our lives, had to buy formula. My wife couldn't breastfeed. She had a double mastectomy. We had to buy formula, and we had to make cuts in our life to be able to afford the formula. I mean, every purchase we made was, if I buy this, will I be able to buy formula? And we had to go to the cheap grocery stores. We had to shop at Walmart. We had to get the lettuce that looked like it was only got a day or two left of viability. We had to go to the Kroger. We couldn't afford Publix. We couldn't afford to go buy wholesale at Sam's because it was still too expensive out of the gate to do it. And now we got all these white people on the left and the right who think that we should get rid of the processed foods, the canned soups and the like at the grocery store, that instead you need to slave over the stove all day and you need to make your own beef broth and your own beef stock to be able to make your own chili, the can of Hormel. God forbid you eat it. How horrible of you to go to the grocery store and buy the frozen food that you put in the oven. But you know what? It's a whole lot cheaper than it is to make all the stuff from scratch that so many white people these days think. Have you just lost touch? Have you grown up so privileged you don't understand that some people can't do this? Some people cannot afford to stay home and raise their kids. They have to have two parents working because they live in an area that is too expensive for one person to stay home. And healthcare benefits are really expensive. And so many people, particularly white people of upper incomes, forget what it's like to struggle. And so many think, well, we can just tax the rich. We'll just tax the rich. We're going to put a Wiccan in, a Surgeon General, and hear about how homeopathic crystals can cure cancer, and we're just going to tax the rich. You know, there's a progressive white woman who's now the mayor of Seattle. Let me pull up this. You got a progressive mayor of Seattle who actually was on record saying that she's fine with the wealthy leaving the area. She doesn't care. This is the socialist mayor of Seattle. Listen to this great white woman in her New Progressives conversation.
I think the claims that millionaires are going to leave our state are like super overblown. And if, you know, the ones that leave, like, bye.
Now, this woman never actually had a real job before getting elected in Seattle. Her husband doesn't work. She and her husband are subsidized by her parents, as I understand it. And she's like, the rich people, bye. But she also wants the poor people to struggle to buy food. She wants to ban the highly processed foods that are the cheap foods that a poor person who's working 3 jobs to get by can actually afford to buy to get nutrition. You can think that those highly processed foods are bad for you. And, you know, I don't disagree with you. But also, I understand that someone can't go buy organic beef every day. And your beef tallow is actually more expensive than the processed seed oils. It's really rich for you white people to lecture poor people on how to live. And yeah, by the way, I really am singling out white people here because on the left and the right, it really is a bunch of white people. The MAHA movement is one of the most lily white gatherings of people you will ever see. And it's the stay-at-home moms and the trad wives who come from some sort of money, and maybe they're struggling, and one of them giving up a job to stay home so that they can drink raw milk with the kids and hope their kids don't get ill from it. I have a lot of impatience with these people because they think that everyone should be able to embrace their lifestyle, and they have no recognition of how other people live. And they who say, well, I want the government to leave me alone, but they want to impose their life on others. They want to drive up the costs of people who can't afford it. And they advocate for someone like this Casey Means person to be Surgeon General who actually believes in magic crystals and talking to trees and moonbeam power and essential oils. I am so glad, as far as I know, that the essential oil movement is slowly starting to fade in this country. I haven't heard a lot about essential oils. Wait, listen, we got friends who love essential oils and raw milk, and I love them. They're good people. But also, I know people who their kids wound up in the emergency room near death because they decided that essential oils could treat their illness instead of actually going with vaccines and medicines. There's a balance for everything, and we have gotten so far out of balance in this country. We've gotten so far out of balance. Spare me your hate mail because I'm just going to laugh at you. And you don't understand. Y'all know the number of people who email me on a I shouldn't say daily, but weekly basis and tell me that if my wife would just drink hydrogen peroxide with frankincense oil, it would cure her cancer. I am not kidding. I get that email regularly. She needs to drink hydrogen peroxide mixed with frankincense oil. And if I would read this doctor on the website and mix it with methylene blue, it would cure her cancer. You don't know jack about my wife's cancer. You're reading fringe stuff on the internet. And yes, it does offend me. The number of people who think they're helpful when they're not only helpful, they're delusional. It just really... I got a lot of pet peeves in my life. People who drive slow in the left lane and the people who email me about their miracle cure for a genetic lung cancer that they don't understand. But I'm just being helpful. I just think if you would open your mind to this miracle cure. And you know nothing about it. You know nothing. And these are the people who also think that we need to drink raw milk, and raw milk could save everything. And if we would just get rid of seed oils, we would cure all sorts of disabilities. Yeah, and you would raise the price on poor people who can't afford your beef tallow every day. And these are the people who advance Casey Means. These are the people who advanced a practitioner of witchcraft to be Surgeon General. And they are furious today that she has been rejected as Surgeon General. She's furious. They're furious. I'm seeing these people flip out online at me and others. They have no idea how these people, like Casey Means, actually like engage with. Let me just read you some of what Casey Means stood for. She believed in channeling the moon. She did ceremonies with indigenous people. She talked to the trees and asked for their power. She channeled positive energy. She engaged in indigenous wisdom. She used a spiritual medium to talk to the spirits. And because of her political connections, the president sought to appoint her as Surgeon General. And because she was skeptical of modern medicine, a lot of quacky white women decided to support her. The women who have left their kids disfigured with the scars of measles and chickenpox because, God forbid, we give them a vaccine, they might get autism. Never mind, the science shows otherwise. And for all of you people who say, but Erickson, we have real scientists out there who say that autism comes from vaccines. You've also got scientists out there who say that transgenderism is a real thing and boys can become girls. Should we believe those scientists or just yours? Pick. Which one is anti-science? One or the other? The ones who say vaccines give us autism or the ones who say boys can become girls? Which one do we pick, people? Or do we reject them both or embrace them both? If you say reject one and not the other, why? I didn't mean to get on this tirade. Somewhat gloating here. I'm just annoyed with the phenomenon of all these wealthy white people in America who think that they can impose their values on everyone instead of just leaving everyone the hell alone. That's why I want a small government. I want a small government. I believe in cultural conservatism, and I believe that, yes, there's a place for government to say no, boys cannot be in girls' locker rooms. But I also think the idea that you wealthy white people who believe you can go to Whole Foods and get all of your organic food, that we should tax the poor and drive up their food costs so that they too can get the organic chicken that had a first name and a last name before they were slaughtered is kind of nonsensical. And if you want raw milk, God bless you. You go drink all the raw milk you want. But for you to offer that up as a solution to everyone is willfully naive. There are metes and bounds for this stuff. And we've spilled this stuff over to the point that we were willing to have some nut job be Surgeon General because the MAHA movement insisted that we should reject traditional science. It's kind of wild to me. People on the right are so epistemically convinced that medicine is bad and big pharma is bad and vaccines are bad, and they use the exact same logic of the left that said that COVID could not possibly have come from a lab in China. It's all based on emotion and not reason, and I'm just kind of tired of it, and I'm really glad to see some emotionally based flake rejected for Surgeon General, even as the MAHA moms cry out in their beef tallow and raw milk over it. Breaking news, the Department of Homeland Security shutdown is 78 days long and now officially over. By voice vote, not even a roll call, the House of Representatives has just voted on a Senate package that would end the Department of Homeland Security shutdown with a whimper. No more fighting. The House passed the Senate DHS funding bill. It funds all of it except ICE and the Border Patrol via voice vote. No roll call requested. It goes to the president's desk. He's going to sign it. Coast Guard, FEMA, Secret Service, the rest, they're going to be funded. ICE and Border Patrol will not be funded. The Republicans will pass a reconciliation package that will fund it without the Democrats' votes. They'll pass it without being able to be filibustered. So there you have it. Likewise, Louisiana is now formally postponing its May 16th House primaries. We'll see if they actually can postpone their primaries. A judge may rule they can't because of the Purcell decision in the U.S. Supreme Court. That is, again, happening right now. That just happened. Louisiana formally doing this. As we move forward, we got more news. And by the way, I want to spend some time with you on the alleged virtuousness of Democrats when we come back. I want to spend some time on how the Democrats view themselves, because I think it's leading towards deeply, deeply destructive habits among the Democratic Party to view themselves as the only virtuous people in the country these days. That's not going to end well for any of us. Now, you know what else we got to talk about when we come back? Well, by the way, if you're on WSB, listen on WSB. I'm going to have Brad Raffensperger. But we got to talk about sports betting when we come back, because there's this wild CBS News story about a star athlete who's gone into rehab for a gambling addiction, may completely disqualify him from ever playing in collegiate sports game, may destroy his whole career. He's gone into rehab. And you know what CBS News did? They gave the betting odds for his team now that he's gone into a gambling addiction program. I'm not making that up. I got the details for you when we come back. It's really kind of wild to see. The president, by the way, this is happening just now. The president has just tweeted that he's talked to Bill Lee, the governor of Tennessee, about redistricting, and the governor of Tennessee is open to a special legislative session in Tennessee to get rid of Steve Cohen's district in Memphis. He is the last remaining Democrat in the Tennessee congressional delegation, and it looks like his days may be numbered. Tennessee has time to do it, and it looks like they're going to. Now, let me tell you about Renai. Renai is my tankless water heater. It is, I got hot water forever thanks to Renai, and you can too. Not only that, if you're thinking about it, just for you, they're not doing this with anybody else. I love them. I asked them to advertise. They agreed. Paul Harvey used to advertise for them back in the day. I'm such a big fan of this company and their tankless water heater. And if you want one for your house, homeowners only, they'll give you a $500 rebate. You got to purchase and install by June 30th. Here's what you do. You go to talkingtankless.com. You'll see the rebate button. You click it, and you got to put in your information, your name and address. And once you do that, they'll take you through to the rebate portal, and you find the Eric Erickson consumer rebate. When you click on that, they're going to ask you to put in my first name, Eric, E-R-I-C-K, to make sure you're my audience. And you'll get $500 off. You got to purchase and install by June 30th. Homeowners only. Go to talkingtankless.com. Click on the rebate button, put in your information, find the Erickson rebate, and the passcode is my first name, Eric, E-R-I-C-K. Then you can actually find a plumber to do it as well.